aspirational hero. Move that aspirational, 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 move that aspirational goal. So the aspirational heroes need to be there. They need to be pure 100% from the beginning. They need to be at that unobtainable goal of perfection and good and hopeful and inspirational and all of that. Move that aspirational, 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 move that aspirational. Stop deconstructing heroes. Aspirational or cathartic motivational. Move that aspirational, 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 move that to aspire. Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another Office Hours live stream. Hopefully you had a good week. Hopefully everything's going well for everyone. Just checking in here. All right. Make sure everything's coming through okay. Looks like it is. So yeah, this has been a weird week for me. I had Alyssa a couple days extra than I normally would. And normally, you know, I take Alyssa back to her mother on Saturday, and Sound Engraver and I go to Mass Saturday evening, and then we come home and I do the stream. But this time around, I took Alyssa back later today, so I got home just in time for a nap, and then boom, right on stream. So it still feels a little off, but hopefully I'll be coherent and everything will be well. I also, yep, thank you, my dear Sound Engraver. I also have some the topic tonight. It'll be interesting. I'll see how it goes. I'm kind of still formulating my thoughts about it. It's actually one of the things that I'm going to talk about on the next episode of Iconicast podcast, which I'm going to be recording on Monday, and it's has to do with the Underworld review I'm going to do. I'm going to do a review of my big steel book that I got of the complete Underworld series, and so it gave me some, you know, it'll make more sense once you see that episode, but that's, you know, where the trail of breadcrumbs, you know, comes to from. So we'll be talking about that and some other stuff, and just be a nice loose conversation. But welcome to the chat. I see Nathaniel Lozball here, Dr. Y, Studio Super, great to see you. Leia Plus Size, Samuel Proctor, channel member, Ghost Planet Max Inc. Let's see, the Imaginative Hobbyist, of course, my dear Sound Engraver, Joshua V. Been a while, Joshua V. I think I remember you being around here before, though. So good to see you there. And so many more. Final Fantasy fan. So many more. See, you're reading Rogue Squadron there, Samuel Proctor. Good. I hope you like it. Let me know what you think. For whatever reason, you know, maybe they were listening to my channel. I doubt it. But I'd been lamenting the fact that for people who do prefer audiobooks, or for the, you know, the sight impaired, you know, who need audiobooks and whatnot, there were so few of the Disney EU, you know, comparatively speaking, of the library on an unabridged audio. There's a lot of abridged crap, but, you know, we're beyond needing abridgments, you know. So it was just so few unabridged, but man, they're really cranking them out now. They you know, we talked before about Outbound Flight, Courtship of Princess Leia, you know, more of the Rogue X-Wing books and everything coming out. The Eldridge fan, I don't know if he's here tonight, but he told me about oh shoot, which book did you tell me was coming out? I know they finally released Yoda Dark Rendezvous, I, Jedi. Shoot, you told me that one book was coming out in October or something that was supposed to be pretty good. So looking forward to that. A lot of good stuff there, because I love, you know, like I said before, I love reading. Just you know, I think it's important to at least always have a hard copy book that you're reading. But it's you know, with schedules and whatnot, it's nice to have an audio book. You can really plow through some reading there as well. So yeah. All right. I think I got everything going on in the chat there. Yeah, May the 4th. I know May the 4th was technically a thing. I mean, people would say that before Disney bought Star Wars, but I tend to really celebrate Star Wars Day. My dyscalculia is it the 28th or 25th? I forget which. Later in May, when the original Star Wars was first released, because Disney has kind of taken that May 4th thing, and it's so you see so much garbage Disney Star Wars stuff every time you see May the 4th somewhere online now, and it's really annoying to see. So I like celebrating the release of the original film because that goes straight back to the original OT, you know. So anyway, that's just me though. But you know, happy May the 4th to good solid Star Wars fans that are here with us. 25th. Thank you. Yeah, I'm always going to remember a number wrong. All right. So, Dr. Weiss says I went to the Lego Expo today. I'll have a video up for it either lots tonight or sometime tomorrow. Oh, cool. Later tonight or sometime tomorrow. Nice video. Lego Expo. Where is that? I'm kind of out of the loop there. Not really sure what's going on with that. So, I'm going to break into our topic. Don't know how long it'll go too. We'll see, you know, until I'm done talking about it, until we're done kind of going back and forth about it. Let me try to break into it this way. And if filmmakers, and when I say filmmaker, I mean producer, director, obviously screenwriters, but you know, people who make films. Really, I wouldn't say just a screenwriter. That's kind of a special case-ish we'll talk about. But in general, filmmakers, a filmmaker has to be a storyteller. Okay. Now, might not be a very good storyteller, but if you're a filmmaker, you're a storyteller. Even if you make documentary films, there's still a story to be told about whatever this historical event was or whatever this nonfiction issue is that they're doing the documentary on. So filmmakers are storytellers. But they're not writers. They're not writers. There is such a thing as somebody who's just a screenwriter, who is a writer but also does some screenwriting, and that person would be a writer. But just because someone wrote a script doesn't mean they're a writer either. You know, in a lot of cases in Hollywood, it's, you know, producers who dabble in the scripts or directors who write their own scripts or whatever, you know. And for a long time, Hollywood knew this. They knew that they were filmmakers, they weren't writers. And when I say Hollywood, that's kind of a stand-in just for the entertainment industry in general, you know. So they knew they weren't writers. So they knew they had to go bring writers in. You know, they really had to get a good solid writer to really form up this script and do it well, or consult on it here and there or whatever. You know, for a long time that was a thing. They knew that. You know, even great filmmakers like Alfred Hitchcock, for example, you know, he would seek out good writers, and sometimes he worked with great writers, sometimes he didn't. He actually worked with Raymond Chandler on the Strangers on a Train film, which didn't work out too well. They kind of butted heads. But you know, it used to be that they really knew they needed a solid script. That was the genesis of a film, was a good script. Nowadays, that's not so much the case anymore. Filmmakers don't think like writers. And it wasn't always such a big deal, because they would think in terms of just this movie, and generally, you know, in general, they could still get the job done in the case of a film. If you had a sequel, I mean, let's just, you know, usually a sequel in general isn't going to be as good as the last one or whatever. But, you know, you had great exceptions of people, you know, like George Lucas, who had a vision, you know, of a 3-part installment even when he started. Or you had films that were based on, you know, large literary pieces like Lord of the Rings or whatever. So that was going to work. Stories were solid there. In this century, though, with the rise of, we'd always had franchises, right? Something like Star Wars, something like Back to the Future. We'd had franchises. But with the rise of these shared cinematic universes, and everything's kind of trying to be this big shared cinematic universe now. Even what used to just be franchises are always trying to kind of grow and grow and grow. With the idea of a shared cinematic universe, filmmakers can't get away with just being filmmakers. The level of storytelling is just a filmmaker doesn't work anymore. When you're doing a shared cinematic universe, you really have to think like a writer. You have to think like a novelist, like somebody who's writing long form story or whatever. You need to think like that. And we don't see Hollywood doing that. Hollywood still, they're trying to tell these long form stories, and they're still thinking like filmmakers and not enough like writers. They need to bring writers back into the fold, back into to really shape things up. And I don't mean a director with a vision who happens to write a script. I mean somebody who's a writer. It just floors me how many people think that they can write just because they have good ideas, or because they, how many artists think they can write, their own comics? How many? And some can, some are great at it, but how many, just think, oh, I can handle that. I can handle that. Our directors apparently think, oh, I can handle that. I can handle that. No, writing's a real discipline. It's a craft. Fiction writing in particular is a distinct craft. And so many people think that, well, it's just, hey, maybe you didn't like that movie, but I liked it. I liked it. Who are you to say it's not good? I liked it. What kind of stupid reasoning is that? They wouldn't do that reasoning with anything else. I like pretzels. I really like pretzels. I like the salty. I like the crunch. But pretzels are horrible for you. All that processed flour. And imagine me saying, well, hey, that's just your opinion. Screw you if you don't like pretzels. I think they're good. So I think they're great. They're good for me. Okay, well, enjoy all my health problems and early death because of that, But people think that way about stories all the time. Well, hey, you didn't like it, but I liked it. I thought it was good. I liked it. Taste is a completely separate thing from whether something is intrinsically good. There's no such thing as subjectivity when it comes to the value of art. Art's an objective craft. It's an objective discipline. And there's an objective evaluation to be made of art when it comes to writing in particular. So I'm thinking about this. I'm kind of having these conversations in my head right now, and I'm only kind of letting so much of it out because I'm thinking, how much do I want to give with this? Because I'm thinking about the Underworld movies in particular. And maybe I'll just say a little bit, just to kind of give us some hardcore examples here. Hardcore, I mean, hard, concrete examples rather. But there was a time jump between the first two Underworld films were really good. It was the Underworld movie and a sequel that picked up right afterwards, picked up the same themes, picked up the same threads of story that were still there to be told and developed. Then they jumped back in time and did a prequel, which is really great, Rise of the Lycans. They developed things that they had said took place, in the original. So you could see the integrity of plot and the integrity of story was all there. Then when they jumped to, I think it was 2012 that they made Underworld Awakening. It's almost like they just got bored with what they were doing. And they said, let's, you can imagine the producers thinking this too. Look, we're dealing with a franchise that's like 10 years old now. We got to freshen it up a little bit. So a lot of things happen in between Evolution and Awakening that they don't show on screen. They just kind of sum up real quick so that they can do this like 12-year time jump. So they can tell a completely different type of story with these characters. Gone is the really cool gothic aesthetic. Now it's more of like a Contagion apocalyptic kind of movie, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But they totally turned their back on the story they were telling, and a lot of the threads and everything like that. You can't do that. Imagine a writer doing that. Imagine, a novelist writing out, 4, 5, 6 chapters, and they're developing threads and they're developing ideas. And then they get done with their 6th chapter and they're like, oh, you know what? We just need to freshen this up a little bit. So it's like, time jump. And then the next chapter is 12 years down the road. And it feels like a totally different book now. They're doing different kinds of things with this story now or whatever. No, anybody would look at that and say, that's bad writing. That's bad writing. But movie producers wouldn't say that. Movie producers will say, well, it's been 10 years. We need to freshen it up. We have a new audience now. Some ideas are getting stale and we need to, approach it from something new, and that's the business mindset. That's a marketer. That's the producer talking. And a lot of directors think like that too, because they're producers at heart, or they work a lot, with these kind of marketing. They know what's going to, be popular and whatnot. No, where's the writer's response to this? Where's the writer input? That's the important thing. If we want to really serve story well. And there's a second aspect to this too, but let me get this super chat before I get into it. Studio Super, thank you very much. Appreciate that. You said, as an artist, with me writing for my first comic, I realized that I'll need the help. I want the comic to be the best it can. Always have editors ready to go, take their advice and help. Yeah, exactly. And I don't mean to discourage anybody who might be, just an artist or just an artist, I mean, like, that's your background. You're trained in art. You're not necessarily trained in writing, or you're trained in, film. You make a lot of short films, but you're not necessarily trained in writing. That doesn't mean you can't write a good film or a comic or whatever. It just means, like you said there, make sure you're getting the input, getting the editorial feedback, and then you decide what you want to do with that and where you want to go with it. That's the important thing. When I was just explaining it there, though, I said that, directors will think like this because they know the game, they know the marketing, they know the industry, and they're thinking about, what's going to be popular. So they'll have no problem, just shelving all of the ideas and themes that were still left to be developed or promised to come forward. They'd have no problem shelving that if it means freshen things up, new approach, they'd have no problem with that whatsoever, because they know what will make a film get the clicks, get the money, get the ticket sales, get all of that. And this is where the second part comes in, which is the audiences are at fault in this a lot too. It's not just the rise of the shared cinematic universe and writers not really being, or filmmakers not really being equipped to deal with that long form storytelling. It's audiences who go see this stuff. It's audiences who are so, as I've said before, they're so addicted to the content that they will reward these new efforts. And so why would a filmmaker think, oh, you mean I shouldn't do this? Why? It made a lot of money. It made a lot of ticket sales or whatever, Everybody who stands up still and tries to defend the Dune movies, what are you doing? These things are horribly written. But the visuals, and it was a good step forward. And if we could just get Hollywood to, if you want visuals, go to a freaking art museum. They got all the visuals you want. Film is about story. Would somebody please start standing up for story and stop rolling over and showing your belly to any Hollywood executive that happens to give you a movie that's actually not that woke, guys? But it's that kind of tribe mentality. All of the right YouTubers said good things about Dune 2, so now everybody thinks, well, I'm a good little anti-woke card-carrying member, so I'm going to support that movie and the Joker movie and this movie. And how about story? How about we stand up for story? Dune was horrible. Dune, one of the really good books that actually handles the time jump well. The film version was awful. And all the changes it made, it's not that woke. Are you kidding me? They totally made Chani into a little feminist. It's awful. It's an awful film. And people are like, well, I kind of enjoyed myself. Screw what you enjoyed, because that doesn't make it good. That doesn't make it good. Eat your pretzels if you must, but stop trying to pretend that they belong, in the salad section, or whatever. Let's see, got some super chats here I don't want to miss before I get rolling too long. Michael Scombati, good to see you there, said, what do you think of Batman 89 and Batman Returns? You mean as a sequel? It's a good example because I like both of them. I said before how they make some missteps in terms of Batman's the iconic Batman portrayal, but they're the best live action portrayals of Batman I think we've received, period. Batman Returns went kind of dark. It wasn't necessarily a follow-up. See, that's an example. Batman Returns is an example of a sequel before they were really doing shared universes. I think there were rumblings in the studios at one point about, when Batman 89 was so popular, there was rumblings about maybe having Christopher Reeve, crossover or something. That would have been epic, man. That would have been great. But they weren't really thinking about, okay, let's tell the next story. What would logically happen to Gotham now that this Batman is introduced and everything? No, I mean, they were it, the way of thinking about sequels at that time, it was no big deal at all just to throw out Vicky Vale, has some side comment where she went away or whatever. Let's have two villains now instead of just one. That's fine. This is that bigger. They weren't really thinking, sequels then weren't really about continuing the logical, like a second chapter of a book. It was very much still thinking Batman 89 was one single book. Batman Returns is a whole other book, but they weren't really telling the same story. I mean, they were. It's a sequel, it's same characters, somewhat of a continuity, but it was a different way of thinking about films. I like both of them. Now, I am very much looking forward. I always wanted to spend more time in the Burtonverse of Batman, and I was so excited, as I said, when Sam Hamm, the screenwriter for the original Batman 89, was writing the comics. He was doing a continuation of the Burtonverse, of the Batman 89 verse in comics, just as I'm blanking on his name, was doing the Superman 78, continuation. And the Superman 78 comics are great, wonderful. The Batman 89 comics are horrible. Sam Hamm is an awful comic book writer. It's like, do you even care about these characters? All he wanted to do was preach BLM activism. Michael Keaton's Batman in those comics doesn't do anything. He doesn't save anybody. He's just a stupid old rich white man who has to be taught lessons by the black people and the women in the book. It's so horrid in every case, and the art was great, which is so sad. So I was kind of bummed. I was like, well, that's the continuation they're going to do of the Burtonverse, so I'm not going to get any more now. But I don't know how this happened. I don't know where the genesis of this came from, but oh shoot, why am I blanking on so many names tonight? It's been a rough week, long week. Help me out, guys. The writer of Kenobi, great Star Wars EU writer. He's written a bunch of other stuff. John Jackson Miller. Is that right? Anyway, honestly, he's one of my favorite writers in the EU. He's amazing. His comics are great. He wrote the Knights of the Old Republic comics. He's writing a novel. Well, he's written a novel, which is a sequel to the Batman 89 film. And it's going to be released in this fall, I think. I can't wait for that. And I need to research it more to see, like, how did this come about? I don't think it ties into the comics at all or anything, but I'm really psyched about that because he's an amazing writer. I know his work. And to have that continuation, I'm really looking forward to that book. I hope it's good. I hope it's really, worth its, place as a continuation of that universe. Because now you've got a real writer, as I said, working on a continuation of the film story. So excited about that. Studio Super 499 said test audience would not hurt either. Maybe looking for those soon. Oh, you mean for your comics? Yeah. Yeah. As a writer, whether you're writing, a comic or a script or a novel or short story or whatever, editors are one thing. You do need a developmental editor. Once you've kind of gone through the developmental phase, you'd want a copy editor or proofreader, obviously in the end. But just having a set of second readers, a good second reader, at least one, but usually two or three people that can just. And these aren't trained people; these aren't trained writers or editors. They're just people who, as you say, they're like your test audience, and they can give you some ideas and just a general reaction, so that you can see how readers are going to react to your work. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That's very important. That's a good idea to have. Yeah, people need second readers just as much as they do editors. That's part of the process. Michael Scombati said, and Daredevil, Netflix, and Punisher Warzone. Netflix Daredevil was amazing. That was really something. Those first 3 seasons were just epic. I don't even want to think about the stuff that Disney's going to be doing to Daredevil now. It's really sad. And sad, I think, that Charlie Cox and all these people are coming back to it. They've already killed it with their She-Hulk shenanigans and their what's-her-face shenanigans. They showed up in it elsewhere. Never did see Punisher Warzone. Again, I'm not a major Punisher fan. That's one of the Punisher movies I missed, but I should watch it. I think Fan Man was telling me about it. This and that. He's a Punisher fan. I like the Punisher in Daredevil season 2. I think, man, I tell my students all the time, look, just watch, if you're interested in this kind of thing, watch Daredevil season 1 and season 2. You don't need to watch anything else to understand it. You get everything there, and the themes they go through are just freaking awesome. So That's good stuff. Studio Super, another one here said, with content addiction, my parents are taking my nephew to Disney World because they claim it's for him. Even after I told them about stuff Disney has said and done, I swear they think I'm crazy. I get it. I get it. Yeah, my daughter's mother, that they're Alyssa's mother is and her husband are taking Alyssa. They claim they're planning on it anyway. Who knows if it'll happen? But they're planning on taking Alyssa to Disney World November. Now Alyssa, she's perfect for it because Alyssa doesn't have the cognitive functioning or ability to understand agendas and all that kind of stuff. She's just there and she'll see the classic characters and she'll love it. But yeah, you can't. Normies look at you like you're crazy, like you're absolutely like, what are you even talking about? Oh, you're such a nerd, this and that, and yet they lament and they feel the effects of how culture's lost, and it's Cassandra syndrome. Cassandra was the priestess in Greek mythology, priestess at Troy, and Apollo wanted to sleep with her. And she resisted. She said no. So Apollo got very angry, and Apollo said, as a punishment for rejecting me, all of your oracles are going to be true. You're going to be a true prophetess. You'll see the future, but no one will ever believe you. So it's called Cassandra syndrome when you have this, kind of like, look, oh my gosh, how can you not see this? This is horrible. This is what's happening. And everybody around you is like, I don't really think that. I think the Joker was a good movie. And what's happened to that character now? Gone is the elemental Joker. He's either there to be a bad guy for good feminist Harley Quinn, or to be a poor tortured soul that's a commentary on society. I mean, that's just happened. Yeah, I feel your pain there. Let's see, I think there was another one here I just want to get before I miss it. Dr. Y, thank you very much, sir, for the support. Appreciate that. Said, I blame Michael Bay's Transformers. Those movies were bad story-wise, but they made truckloads of money. Hollywood only cares about money. They do. They absolutely do. And I was never, I didn't really grow up watching Transformers. That was one cartoon franchise that I just never watched a lot of. I'd like to watch some. I think it was because I couldn't really. Cars and trucks never had a visceral appeal to me as a kid. I wasn't like the other boys, like, oh, my Tonka truck and that kind of stuff. That didn't necessarily have that appeal to me. And then you didn't really see a lot of faces on these characters. I mean, they had faces, but they were sort of mechanical faces. I don't know. I'm not naturally drawn to characters that don't have like even some of the anime are like Power Rangers, with their helmets on. One of the reasons I never could really get into Power Rangers is because they just got a bunch of helmets on. I'm just looking at a flat, unchanging surface. They just like I want to see a face emote of a character. I want to see the emotion. I want to see. I don't know why. It's just me. It's just I'm not saying that's objectively right or bad or good. That's just how my brain works. So anyway, but you're right. I remember liking that first Transformer movie, thinking it's not bad. And I think I heard some people who are really big Transformers fans, watch the cartoon. So the first one was okay or whatever, but yeah, they really went off the deep end. And it's interesting that they insisted upon keeping in same continuity, even though they're not really trying to tell some big shared, there wasn't a good writer behind a great overall story. Every movie was just sort of, what if this happens now, guys? Now what if this happens? But they kept it in the same continuity, which was weird. I've heard some people say that the Bumblebee movie is maybe sort of a soft reboot, but I don't know. I don't really follow up on it. But you're right. That's a big thing too. So, yeah, AL Superman 78. Those comics were great. Those were really great. Tricon 40X book's name. Do you mean the Batman book's name? Let me find that real quick. I'm really excited about it. Pre-ordered it already, but I can't remember the actual name of it. Let's see. It's called. What is it called? Nope, that's not going to tell me. Batman Resurrection by John Jackson Miller. Here, I'll read you the prompt for it here from Penguin Random House. After the Joker's death, Batman and Gotham City face a mysterious new threat in this direct sequel to Tim Burton's iconic Batman. The Joker is dead, but not forgotten. Gotham City is saved, but it is still not safe. By night, it's a new symbol of hope. Batman, continues his fight to protect the innocent and the powerless. By day, his alter ego, Bruce Wayne, wonders whether there may be someday a future beyond skulking the city's rooftops or the cavernous hills of his stately manor alongside the ever-dutiful Alfred Pennyworth. But even after death, the Clown Prince of Crime's imprint can be seen in more than just pavement. Remnants from the Joker's gang are leading wannabes, fascinated by his bizarre mystique on a campaign of arson that threatens the city, even as it serves greedy opportunists, including millionaire Max Schreck. So it's kind of bridging the gap a little bit between Batman 89 and Batman Returns, which can, if you do this well, you could bridge the two to really make a good overall story. Survivors of exposure to the Joker's chemical weapon, Smilex, continue to crowd Gotham City's main hospital. To quell the chaos, Batman needs more than his cape and his well-stocked utility belt. Bruce Wayne is forced into action, prompting a partnership with a charismatic scientist to help solve the health crisis. But as he works in both the shadows and the light, Bruce finds himself drawn deeper into Gotham City's turmoil than ever before, fueling his obsession to save the city, an obsession that has already driven a wedge between him and Vicky Vale. The loyal Alfred, who had hoped Bruce's efforts as Batman could help him find closure, finds the opposite happening. Nightmares begin to prompt Bruce to ask new questions about the climactic events in the cathedral, and the investigations by Commissioner Gordon and reporter Alexander Knox, so he's coming back, which is great, into the arsons only amplify his concerns. Having told the people of Gotham City that they'd earned a rest from crime, Batman finds the forces of evil growing ever more organized and orchestrated by a sinister hand moving behind the scenes. The world's greatest detective must solve the greatest mystery of all. Could the Joker have somehow survived? And could he still have the last laugh against the people of Gotham City? That's a great premise. I mean, it really is a good bridge between the two films, you know, because in Batman Returns, it's the Circle Gang, what do you call it? But basically the Joker's old gang. Somebody's, you know, kind of pieced them together, which is the Penguin, you know, in that film. So, yeah, I'm psyched about that. So, yeah, Batman Resurrection is the name of that book for those asking about that. All right, where am I with the comments here? Eldridge Fan says, I have an awesome story climax in mind, but how to get there without it seeming contrived. It has to seem natural and obvious once it happens. Yeah, that's the plight of writers right there. You're absolutely right. And that's just what anybody. So what you've got a great idea. This will be a really great idea for this to happen in the story. And now you're doing the work of writing, which is the hard work of, okay, now how do I get it there? How do I get the narrative there, as you said, without it seeming like a contrivance? And that's so important. I mean, I'm glad you put it that way, because you read stories sometimes, or you watch movies sometimes, and you realize this whole movie was just an excuse for that ending, you know, or an excuse to get to that one thing or whatever. It just didn't feel, you know, natural or like it came from a you know, natural place there. Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying. Studio Super said, from reading the Superman 78 comic, for my comic cover, I want to do something similar. I'd like to make my cover look like a DVD cover, front and back. Yeah, Superman 78 cover with the VHS was clever. I really like that too. I've got it here somewhere. Oh yeah. No, I've got the first version that came out hardcover, which isn't the VHS, but yeah, then they put together these VHS ones, which I think was a 2-part set where you could get the Superman 78 and the Batman 89 comic, but I don't want any part of that comic anymore. I love that idea of old properties from the 80s or early 90s, that VHS. Like I ordered they're still putting it together. It was a backers kit campaign. Tom Holland, the director of Fright Night, he worked with some comic creators to continue the story he wanted to. You know, he sometimes he was talking about maybe making his own sequel to Fright Night, because the Fright Night 2 that came out in '88 wasn't him. He didn't write that. It wasn't the direction he necessarily would have taken. He wanted Evil Ed to come back. And then there were some comics. I think there were Marvel comics that came out, which were fun. They were a lot of fun, but it was you know, basically what's the main character's name? Peter Vincent and the kid, anyway. They were kind of like fighting supernatural freaks of the week, which was fun, but that wasn't really where Tom Holland was going. So Tom Holland got together. He wrote a new novelization of the first film called Fright Night Origins, which has a lot more in there than the original novelization, and it's kind of building up a possible continued story. And then he was talking about maybe making a movie, maybe writing another book, but he ended up getting some comic pros together to tell the story in comic format. and I ordered my own copy of it. It's a good hardcover copy, and it's like you said, it's got the VHS, cover, a book cover, and they even sold, like, you could get a higher tier, was a nice leather bound, which kind of looked like Peter Vincent's leather journal, vampire slaying journal, and yeah, I mean, that's cool. I mean, a leatherback is cool, but I'm like, no, I'd much rather just have the straight up hard copy with looks like the VHS. That's a much cooler idea. Red Triangle Circus Gang. Thank you, Ghost Planet Inc. for Eldritch Fan 2. Yeah, said that. So yeah. All right, down here, Andre Hernandez. Who do you think is the best Joker henchman, Harley Quinn or Bob the Goon? Man, Bob the Goon needs to come back. I mean, he can't come back. Joker kills him. But I don't know why there's never been anything more done with Bob the Goon. I had the little action figure of Bob the Goon, too. What a great character. And what a great moment when Joker kills him, too. It shows you how evil the Joker is. That was such a cool idea. Yeah. Harley Quinn is a great idea. She is a great idea. And if you stick with her in the limits of what they did with the Batman the Animated Series, or even the comics that came out of the Batman the Animated Series, certainly, Mad Love, it's great. She's a great character. I like that. I even liked in the Batman 66 comics, Jeff Parker and some other people were doing those comics, is they brought in other villains and other characters into those comics that weren't necessarily in the Batman 66 series. So they brought in Dr. Harleen Quinzel to be there with Cesar Romero's Joker, in those comics, and that worked well. I mean, she's a great natural character, but the problem is she's been overused, and people have taken her in directions that her character shouldn't go in. They've tried to make her this poster child for the battered woman. Feminists just squee all over themselves about the character and stuff, and that's not who she is. I think even a lot, God rest her soul, Arlene Sorkin, I think a good deal of the character was lost when Arlene Sorkin stopped doing the voice. I mean, other people who have voiced her did well. I'm not saying, they're all crap or anything like that, but Arlene Sorkin just brought that measure of innocence / dangerousness to the character that other people just can't quite emulate, And Arlene Sorkin retired from it even before she passed away, because she did the first Batman Arkham Asylum game, but she wasn't on Arkham City or any of the animated films, that came after that and whatnot. So yeah. But yeah, Bob the Goon was a fun henchman. I wish they would, he'd show up in some other capacity or something like that. Eldritch Fan, thank you again for the super chat. You said modern storytellers only have 2 tricks: tell the same story or do a pretentious deconstruction. Man, that's a good point. Yeah. Never just take the story to the new logical place. You're right. And part of it is, you say modern storytellers, I'm thinking in terms of modern filmmakers. A lot of it is the studios just can't bring themselves to take a risk. Oh, a new idea. Oh, no. It's got to be a franchise. It's got a built-in fandom. It's got to be, we can't take a risk. We can't roll the dice, guys. No. So that's part of it, same old stories. And you can have the same old archetypes because they're timeless. They don't get old. They don't get stale. But when you tell the same stories with the archetypes, and even archetypal narrative, you can have that over and over again. That's fine because they're timeless. But when you tell, like you're saying, the same story, with that, it gets old. Or the deconstruction. And I like that you said pretentious deconstruction, because everybody who deconstructs a character has deluded themselves into thinking, I'm the first person that's ever done this with this character. Isn't it so much more interesting to have a Superman that's, really kind of psychologically tortured? But how is that interesting? That's every freaking character they write now. You had the one character who was above that, and you just had to drag him down in the mud too. How is that interesting or original in any way, So, yeah, bugs me. Spidey Rule said, I'd argue she isn't really overexposed, since that would imply the lesbian Deadpool knockoff we've been getting shoved down our throats is Harley Quinn, but she's not. Very good clarification. I agree with you. Good point. Good point. Yeah, it's annoying because what a great character, but they just do the wrong things with her, or or push her in these wrong directions. I don't know. So I knew this was going to be a weird night because I had these kind of loose ideas, and I got most of kind of what I was thinking about anyway. It will be more succinct when I record this bit for that tie it to the Underworld movie specifically and do the Iconicast podcast segment. But this always happens on live streams. You know, it's a conversation back and forth, right? You know, I get going with some super chats, which I very much appreciate. You guys had some great comments too, and then we can get going in a direction there, and I lose what I was going to say. It's been weird this year. You know, I keep a journal, and I write down all the books or movies that I see, you know, or watch or read in a year, just to kind of keep track of my reading and see how much I'm getting through, and you know, write down thoughts about the books too, if it helps me learn about writing or gives me ideas for my own stuff, you know. And I was looking at my list of things I was reading this year, and so far it's been pretty MonsterVerse heavy, and I think it was because of that the Fright Night comic, you know, that it came out, and I bought that, and then I wanted to go back and watch the original, and then ended up watching all of the ones they did after that, just kind of thinking about and comparing, you know, the ideas that they had there, and then with Underworld and whatnot too. And we were talking about Universal monsters a lot recently, and Wolfman, I ended up getting the Wolfman Blu-ray so I could rewatch that because it's been a long time since I've seen that. So kind of in like monster movie mode right now, which is fun. I'm not complaining about it at all. You know, there's great classic monster movies. You can't beat them. Studio Super again, thank you very much. Said, ironic. If we take a risk, it'll be the end of Hollywood, they say. They say this as if we aren't currently witnessing the Titanic payout. Well, yeah, that's true, right? Because oh no, we can't. No, we've got to have an established franchise so that we have a built-in fan base. But we're to the point now where the built-in fan base, like let's say they were going to make a, please God, just the fact that I'm saying this out loud, don't let this actually happen. Okay. But let's say they were going to make like a Silverhawks movie. You remember Silverhawks? That was it was like Thundercats in space, like literally fighting in space. You know, it was a different kind of idea, you know, a different kind of concept. Great cartoon. Let's say they were going to do a film version of Silverhawks. I can't imagine a fan of that cartoon being like, oh, I can't wait to see what they do. No, any fan of that cartoon is going to be like, oh, man, can't they just leave anything alone? I mean, that's how a lot of people are these days. Of course, when it comes time for the movie to be out, you know, people are going to shut up and fork over their money in a heartbeat so they can go and pretend that, you know, pretend that they're in the know. I'm fighting the good fight too. I got to know what the Friday Night Tights are talking about, guys. Dr. Y says, when it comes to story writing, I think I focus too much on world building and not enough on storytelling. Yeah, we did that whole, I think you were here for it, the stream talking about, you know, the importance of tell a good story. World building's great. Have your world, but get a story. I think, you know, what I've been told by established writers, in fact, my one of the mentors I had in my MFA degree program was a guy by the name of John Pipkin. And he writes historical fiction. He wrote a novel called Woodsburner about Thoreau when he actually did burn down a forest at one point. It was like an accident. He wrote Astronomer's Daughter, I think, was his book about Galileo. So he writes historical fiction, which isn't necessarily science fiction or fantasy, but it is a genre of fiction. And he gave a lecture, and I was talking to him about how to world build, and one part of the things about world building is to know, kind of like what you're saying, when do you stop researching and start writing? You know, and one of the tips he gave, which I thought was a really good idea, was to really approach researching and writing, get your mind disciplined to think of them as two separate things. If you sit down to do your writing for the day, and your writing for the day is a bunch of research or going down rabbit holes and reading up on this or whatever, and you get up and say, okay, I did my writing for the day. I mean, it was a lot of research because I got to do that for this and that. No. Have your research time and have your writing time. Never conflate the two. Research is important. Have your files, you know, get as expansive as you want with your world building, you know, make up you know, databases, you know, character files, you know, put all kind of stuff in there you want, but never lie to yourself and say that that's you're doing the writing, you know. And at some point your brain will get guilty that you're like, okay, you know, I've spent a year now doing research and have actually sat down to write the narrative, you know, and you know, so it'll help you kind of get to that. That's just one idea. So Andre Hernandez, thank you very much. Just hashtag justice for Bob the Goon. Yeah, I was kind of bummed that the action figure didn't really look like the character in the movie. He should have the long blonde hair, but they had the little scruff and the goatee and everything. That was cool. I would love to go back and get. I had those action figures. I don't know what happened to them because I was a kid, but I would love to go back and they're really expensive now. But to find some of the action figures that came out for that first Batman '89 film, that'd be nice to have. Studio Super says, I'm excited to do trailers for my comics. I already did a motion comic with my PSA comic. Oh, that's cool. It's on my channel, and I'm very proud of how it turned out. It makes for good practice with this stuff. Yeah, motion comics are cool. They're cool ideas. I remember when I first saw those coming out. Some people will even make they're on YouTube, actually. They've made motion comics of classic pieces of graphic novels. Like there's a it's pretty well done. I would never suggest anybody just watch this and not read the actual comic itself, because you see so much more of the art and everything like that. But they did a motion comic version of Batman: The Long Halloween, and they have a cast of actors reading the different parts and everything. And they did it pretty well as far as motion comics go. You can look that up, but and they've done some like that, which if it helps people get the stories or get a hold of things, because graphic novels are kind of expensive, great. But I don't think it should ever be an substitution. But motion comics are cool. And yeah, so a motion comic PSA would be cool. I have to check that out. Yeah, trailers can be done really well, or they can be done really poorly. But there's a lot of examples out there, especially with all of the campaigns going for different comics and stuff. Studio 96 Films, thank you so much. Appreciate the super chat there. You said, what I don't understand is that Hollywood hires writers and directors who don't understand the franchises they're working for, or they flat out hate it, yet they avoid risk on original content. Yeah, well, I think part of this is Hollywood and their stupidity thinking that this is somehow avoiding a risk. I mean, really think about it. Every Superman fan worth his salt, every Superman fan worth his salt, every Superman fan who really understands the character would just roll over and die if they actually hired Paul Dini to write a Superman script. I mean, there would just be dancing in the streets from real Superman fans. We could not be happier. Hollywood will never do it because, he's a comic writer, he's a cartoon able to films, like a blip there a little bit. Where did my signal on StreamYard is just dead? I'll have to look into see if there's some other devices going on that are over on this Wi-Fi. Something's weird going on there. I see myself glitching a lot. But yeah, plenty of people move from comics to screenwriters or whatever. There's some people who made the jump just fine. J. Michael Straczynski's one of them. But Hollywood won't do that, especially with the big product. They'd rather bring in somebody who's proved himself on that genre or that medium or whatever, And it's annoying. The writer and some of the writers that they bring in, you say they hate the material. I'm gonna stop my camera. I don't know what's going on with hopefully the audio is still okay and that's not jumpy or choppy. I don't know why things got just the thunderstorms. Yeah, we are having thunderstorms. That's true. Thanks for that, Sonograver. Appreciate that. Yeah, so the what was I saying? They'll bring in, writers who aren't even remotely familiar with the content. Like I did a whole video at the time when the Black Widow movie was coming out, which we knew was going to be garbage because this was the Brie Larson era of MCU. MCU had died and there was nothing good left in the MCU at that point. And they were doing, we're finally giving you the Black Widow standalone film that you always wanted. Well, no, you're doing it now because it fits your feminist agenda, not because you actually want to honor the character in any way. We've been calling for a good Black Widow movie for a long time when it was still going to be, the characters that we knew and love. But they did it, and they before the movie even came out, people were telling me, "Oh, Prof, you're so negative. Oh, you can't be negative about everything. The trailer looked really good." They were actually saying this. You can go back and look at people's stupid responses when the trailer came out. And I was going to the articles and the interviews that they did with the screenwriter, the woman who wrote the script. And they interviewed her, and she flat out said in the script, like, just didn't even bother, lying about this at all. She said, "Oh, I don't yeah, I don't know anything about the character or the franchise, but I couldn't resist. You know, you can't resist the opportunity to really, you know, get a hold of an audience, a built-in audience like that, so you can really kind of educate them about social issues and whatnot. I mean, she literally said that, and I did a whole video about it, and everybody's like, "You're so negative, Prof." Screw you all. That's my answer to that. Oh man. Okay. Got another super chat here from Garbo, the storyteller. Thank you very much. And I've been screenwriting for 13 years now and have an MA in creative writing. Conk, I don't know what that means. In screenwriting, I've worked on my first 2 TV pilots of years or years. It's an extremely long, arduous journey. Yeah, it is. And you know, at the MFA program I attended, I was, you know, in the fiction concentration, but there was a screenwriting concentration. And I've got some friends who are in that. And yeah, to really be a screenwriter, it's a big, you know, you really learn your chops. And it's such a, I think it should be such a slap in the face to screenwriters who have really worked and really done their due diligence and know the craft, for Hollywood just to bring in someone's, oh, you know, he's a director, he can write the script or whatever. Oh, he can do this, he can do that. He's like, no, no, no. I mean, if Alfred Hitchcock of all people would hire script writers, then I don't care if you're James Gunn or you know, anybody. You get yourself a script writer, get somebody who knows the writing craft, knows the storytelling from a writer's perspective, and not just a visual filmmaker storyteller. Absolutely. Studio Super here, just make sure I'm not missing any of these. Says the best motion comic I saw was The Death of Ultimate Spider-Man. It's well animated, well voice acted, and it tugs them heartstrings. It's on YouTube. I have to look that up. You haven't seen that. I remember, I think Joss Whedon, was it Joss Whedon? We did an X-Men motion comic. And then there was a Spider-Woman motion comic with Claudia Black voicing Spider-Woman, which I thought was amazing casting. That was really good. Yeah, that was, and I'm sure that was kind of like the origins of motion comics back in the day. So I don't follow a lot of them now. I'm sure they're even done, you know, much better. But yeah. Let's see. Yes, Sound Engraver reminding me, which I'll say it now because I guess I'm closing in on an hour. I'm still going to talk for a little while, but yeah, Sound Engraver is doing her stream tomorrow, just so I don't forget. Her link is in there in the chat, and she's got it set up already at probably 5:45ish. Usually when she does that. Nathaniel Losball says, in response to you and Studio 96 films, I think they hire people who hate the thing they've brought on to write, is to demoralize and demean the audience. Hate that thing, to demoralize and demean. So you mean that you think the filmmakers are wanting to demean and demoralize? Yeah, I can see that in the context of like the Birds of Prey movie, for example. People were mad. The feminists were mad because not enough men were coming to see our movie. You know, like, you made a whole movie about how men suck, but you're mad that the men didn't come and sit there and take their lesson. You know, so yeah, in that sense, yeah, definitely, you know, wanting to demean and demoralize. Yeah, we've got to preach these things. 5:30 for Sound Engraver stream. Sorry, thank you. Eldridge Fan said, everybody remember to like the stream. Yeah, I never pay attention to the thumbs up. I never pay attention to how many people are watching either. I always have to ask Sound Engraver if she caught that. My channel is every now and then it kind of gets sort of blacklisted in terms of the YouTube algorithm. I think I've been at 16,000 for a long time, which is fine with me, because my channel is the kind of channel that if I do get a little bump, if when Ethan EFAPs, you know, one of my videos or something like that, it will get a little bump in subscribers, but then it'll lose. If I gain 3 subscribers, I'll lose 2, because then they see, oh, we said, what about the Joker movie? Or he's not on board with this thing that all these people are supposed to be on board with, you know? So I was always fine with that. But then it started to kind of creep up kind of steadily. And it's to the point now where I think I'm like 33 subs away from 17,000, like finally bridging that, you know, not being just 16,000 anymore. But but it's teasing me. The algorithm's like, oh, nope. Now you lost 5. No, you gained 10. Now you lost 7. It's just like the algorithm just hates me. But I would much rather stay 16K the rest of my life than sell out, than just be another one of the talking heads saying the same old stupid thing. Okay, what's the narrative we're supposed to be pushing now? Okay, that I think this guy's, I'm an original thinker. So yeah, I forgot about the thunderstorms. Maybe that's probably why the video is being a little clunky. I'll have to make sure. I don't think we have any thunderstorms Monday when I'm recording the Iconicast podcast, so that's good. But at least the audio was good, so we're good there. Yeah, you like my werewolf thumbnail. All right, so I think that's about all I've got to say tonight, guys. I'm still formulating the fullness of those thoughts, for the Iconicast podcast app, and we'll do that. I'm just gonna go ahead and end the cam for the night because it's still blurry. That's a pain in the butt. It's such a great setup I've got now too, but alas. Let's see. Who says this? Garbo the Storyteller said, you can only lose so much money, time, and talent from this ongoing race to the bottom, and everyone working in Tinseltown is going to feel the financial pinch. Yeah, I was excited. I said before, after the pandemic, I was excited because Hollywood was at our mercy. I mean, they were, and I don't know to the extent of how much you work in Hollywood, literally there, Garbo, or what. You can probably tell me more about this than I know. But I was excited about how theaters were closing. I mean, Hollywood would have jumped and bent over backwards for us at that point. And instead of sticking to our guns and demanding any kind of change, as soon as the theaters opened back up and as soon as the first subpar whatever spittle hit the screen, everybody went flocking to it so they could talk about it on YouTube. So yeah, I got no hope for that. Really. Michael Skimbody, for probably the last super chat of the night, says, why do people put down Nicholson's Joker? He just played Jack Nicholson in clown makeup. No, he wasn't. Was perfect. Acid flowers, 10,000 volt joy buzzers, and Smilex. Much better than Joaquin Phoenix. I liked Nicholson's Joker because he really brought out the gangster angle of Joker, and I like that. I loved Cesar Romero. He was really a good clown. I thought Nicholson was really the gangster version of it. The Joaquin Phoenix Joker isn't the Joker. It's and it's been documented. The filmmaker wasn't trying to make a Joker movie. He wanted to make the sort of sad clown kind of film. The sickness, the fall of the mind, and society's implications and so forth and so on. And they just slapped a Joker sticker on it so people would go see it. It'd be really popular. And to say nothing of what's his name, the Snyderverse Joker. Forget his the actor's name right now, but yeah. Of course, Mark Hamill is the Joker, but that's I always tried to every time I'm talking about live action Batman or live action whatever, someone's like, Conroy's about, how dare you say that? Mark Hamill's like, I don't know, I'm talking about live action, guys, not yeah, of course, if we're gonna open it up to animated, all hail the great Conroy and Hamill's portrayals, those characters. Wonderful. So yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for tonight. I need to go rest, eat some food, veg up a little bit, play a video game or something. I had a busy week. Alyssa wasn't feeling too well either this week, so it was pretty hectic. It was a good week, but just very busy. So I need some quiet, calm, vegetable time for my brain. I say veg, but that's like watching a movie or playing a video game or reading a book, just that hallowed introvert time. But it's always great hanging out with you guys. It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being here and just listening and contributing into the chat, and those who super chatted, of course, thank you for that. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are finding some good stories despite all of the muck out there. I hope you're finding good stories to watch and read and play through. I'll have the episode. It's episode 4 now, I think, of Iconicast podcast. Like I said, I'll record it Monday. It's the first chance I've had. And then I'll have it out by the end of the week. And I'll come back with some other videos here and there. I'm trying to put out a lot more content on the channel now that school's wrapped up. I taught my last classes for the semester this week. Next week's exam week, so I still have a ton of grading to do. But now that I'm not having to get up or be somewhere, at certain times, I'm going to try to increase the output on the channel a bit for the summer. So we'll see. But hope you guys have a good week, and I will see you around in the comments or on Sound Engraver stream next week. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.